Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be doing a little bit of work out here in the cut flower garden. We have a lot of seedlings to plant. I've planted a few. In fact, yesterday afternoon, I just took a little bit of time just by myself out here. No cameras, nothing. I just planted a whole bunch of snapdragons and stock. I got all of that done. It was really, really nice out here. I've got a whole bunch more to plant, and you know, it's just kind of a strange spring. It's been cold for so many of us for so long that, you know, even like the ranunculus and anemones, we were way ahead of the game at this point last year than we are this year. But you know, every year is just different. You never really know what to expect. But I think here in the next month or so, this space is really going to fill up and it's going to be beautiful. Here we are. You can see that there are some things growing. Also, real quick, they are building a house right here, right there. So for the next few months, if you hear hammers and saws and such, that's what's going on. In this first row, we planted ranunculus and anemones. This first section are the ones we grew on early in the greenhouse, and boy, am I happy we did that, because we're just now starting to see color. Like just the buds that are open here, the flowers that are open, happened within the last week or so. And then we've got anemones, which actually started blooming earlier. Look at how beautiful. Oh, look at that honeybee. Oh, isn't that a picture? Gorgeous. And that's what's in the rest of these rows. These are the ones we planted that weren't as far ahead. Same with this row here. We've got onions in this row, cabbage in this row, which got completely frozen, completely, every single leaf. I just left them alone, kept watering them, and they sprouted new leaves, like the roots still lived, which was awesome. This row here, we have lilies. Do you remember all the lilies we planted last year? It was late, and I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. I think I harvested a whopping like 2 flowers from that whole row. Nothing else even sprouted. I thought they were all duds, and then this spring they're like happy with their life. I don't know. So that is interesting development. And then we've got our whole row of snapdragons here, which you can hardly see, they're fairly small. A whole row of stock right here, all different varieties. Then we've got some open space here we're gonna be planting in today. We've got some things that have reseeded. There's bells of Ireland right here. We're just gonna leave those alone. We've got some pincushion flower. This is the Fama white. It's awesome. So we've got more pincushion flower I'll just be planting around these. We've got whitefinch Orlea, which just about starting to bloom. Isn't that awesome? Look at this. So exciting. And then a whole bunch of larkspur over here, self-seeded. I didn't plant those this year. And a few little lettuce from last year too, which are actually quite pretty. Look at that. Also, you might have noticed we did mulch the walkways, which I have a love-hate with this mulch. Honestly, it's not a full-on wood chip like we've been mulching with out in the flower beds. It's an actual mulch. We had it delivered this spring when we got in that big load of bald and burlap trees to hill them in until we were ready to plant. It doesn't match anything else we have in the garden, so we decided to just mulch the walkways because, you know, our soil is kind of white when it's dry, so it does make it look better out here. But when I plant things, like I put my leg, you know, I get down on my knees and I have my whole leg like up to my ankles down on the ground, and it's not as comfortable. So anyway, I love it because it's pretty, but I do have to have a kneeling pad out here now, which before I never did. This is what we're gonna start with today. So we have pincushion flowers here, the Merlot Red, Salmon Rose, Black Knight. We've got a few random cabbage plants I've left over from another planting, so I'm just gonna plant those somewhere. We've got some Dianthus. These are the sweet purple white bicolor. So like they get these big spheres of these blooms. They're really cool, and they did so well, and not everything did well for me this year. Total trial year, starting most all of our seeds in the heated greenhouse, and I had really good luck with some things like the Dianthus and really poor luck with some other things. Some of it was user error. Like I didn't poke holes in my trays. I'm so used to needing the trays to hold water when they're inside like the studio, that I didn't even think about it. And of course I'm watering things heavier because I don't have to be as careful out in the greenhouse with water. And so like a lot of my snapdragons were super duper yellow, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with them because I didn't feel like when I lifted the tray, they were overly wet per se, but I think they were just holding on to too much moisture. So I need to make sure that there's drainage in those trays next year. And then I think there are some things that I'm just going to start inside under grow lights. I think snapdragons are going to be one. I think I'm a little gun shy now. Then we've got the cotton candy blend Statice, which all of these things have been sitting in the gator for days, hardening off. We bring them out in the day, it's like windy and cold, and they've all survived it. So we've got also some Mignonette. We've got some Celosia, which kind of fried. So I'm just gonna pull the good ones out. And then right here we have more pincushion flowers. No, asters, China asters. We have Tower Chamois, Tower Yellow, and Lady Coral Lavender. We're gonna biotone the planting areas first and then probably add land and sea as a top dress this time. I wanna try that. But it's been such a fun area because there's no plan. Zero plan. We just plant what we want when we want to plant it. I do have a little bit of a plan for this area. In fact, we might get to it today. There's an arbor I want to put together, kind of like a tunnel to put in this area. We're going to be doing some different things, not all vines. Now I just need to figure out what I want to plant first. I think we'll take the Dianthus out and plant them at the end of the cabbage row, add a little color to that row. Ooh, look at that. A little dust devil. I think this will be a nice space for him to be in. I might even have room for the extra cabbage. We've got some Cosmos seedlings coming up right here from last year's stuff, so I'll probably just pull those up as I'm working this area. Okay, where is my shovel? These are a variety called Ruby Ball, and it says they require 30-inch spacing, which is kind of what I did with these down here because these are a type that get really big too. So I'm going to maintain the same spacing with the 3 cabbage here, and then we'll finish up the row with the Dianthus. We can separate them too, like this. Oh my. I had no idea that was going on inside the can. Like, those are roots, you guys. Oh my goodness. Oh my word. Well, no wonder they were growing so well. They've got an extensive root system. Woohoo! Well, that looks good, and it took up the rest of that row, which is great. So what I want to work on next is this row here up to the lilies. So we'll start planting, I think, the China asters. We've got one full flat of those. I'm not sure that we'll need this whole entire space, but we'll see how far they stretch. One flat down. Okay, so China asters want to be spaced between 6 and 12 inches. Our drip tape right here has emitter holes every 6 inches, which is quite perfect. So what I'm going to probably do is kind of try to maximize the space here. So I'll probably plant one here, there's an emitter here, one here, and then one on the other side of the drip tape and kind of zigzag so it gives them just a tiny bit more space. Thus kind of getting 2 rows out of it at the same time in a way. And we'll do that on both sides. So yeah, we'll definitely have room at the end of the row. But biotone first, then planting. photos, you guys. You'd have to look really close to see all these seedlings. So the asters start here. There's the, I don't know, the peachy colored one. There's yellow, lady coral lavender. And then I started with some statice right in here, and that's the rest of the row. The statice wants to be planted roughly 12 inches apart, which is what I did. So I wasn't able to fit the whole flat, and I knew I wouldn't be able to fit the whole thing on the end. I don't need a tremendous amount of statice. I'll hang on to those 6 packs. I think I've got 3.5 left until I'm a little bit closer to being done filling up this space. If I've got little holes here and there, I'll probably pop those in there, or I'll give them away to friends. And you guys, I didn't have as much time as I thought I was going to. I actually have a hair appointment this afternoon, of all things, but that's important to do too, right? Take a little time out. So I actually stopped like 10 minutes early so I could cut some of these ranunculus and anemones for Crystal, the gal who does my hair. We've actually been friends since middle school. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do real quick and go find a jar to put them in. That'll make a pretty bouquet, nice and bright. We'll tackle the rest of this either later today or tomorrow morning. It's a new day, you guys, and it's a beautiful one. Sun is out, light breeze. We're just gonna pick up right where we left off. We've got the 2 trays of pincushion flower, 1 tray of mignonette, the sorriest looking celosia you'll ever see, and then this is the leftover statice. Which will either tuck in somewhere in our garden or go to a friend's garden. It did get down to 37, I think, last night. Everything looks really good out here. I mean, I've got other annuals planted in pots like coleus and potato vine. Everything's holding so far. What a weird weather year. Let's start with the pincushion flowers because I know where those are going. You know what? There might not be quite enough room in this first row for all of them. I think these we'll plant in this row, and all the rest of the Famas that we have in the gator we'll plant in this row right here. And while we're at it, we'll just go ahead and plant the Mignonette up here because we do have a few plants that came back from last year. While I'm looking this direction, I almost forgot. Erin started to mow the orchard yesterday. We've got a really nice crop of weeds growing in the orchard at the moment, and we're about ready to have it trenched for irrigation lines so that we can get our grass in there, our orchard grass. So anyway, he was gonna mow the weeds down. We're getting ready to remove all of them. We thought that might make it a little bit easier. It actually looks really nice, but he got about halfway done and a duck flew out of one side of the orchard, and we have noticed that this duck has been kind of poking around for the last week in that area. We think maybe she's trying to nest. I'm not really sure. So he was like, I'm not gonna mow that. I'll give her some time. We'll just leave it alone. But anyway, I thought I would show you what it looks like over here. Here's the mignonette. So we will start planting at the beginning of this row and just go as far as we need to kind of fill it in. But doesn't the orchard kind of look nice? I mean, even though it's weeds, it's green and it's very full and lush. Oh, I can't wait to have a nice crop of orchard grass in here though. Just a very soft kind of just real pretty look. And I want it to be, you know, almost all the way up to the hose. We may or may not do some plantings right around the shed. I might just let it kind of go natural around this area. We will probably put a little bit of either like pavers or a little bit of gravel. You can see where when we do get rain, which we've had quite a bit this spring, it does fall right here. So I don't really want to put plants directly under there, but we'll get that spot figured out. And then this side, Erin barely started to mow. You can see kind of made a pass through here and then was starting in over here when the duck flew out. So I'm not going to poke around in there too much. I don't really want to, I mean, the lawnmower was probably enough to scare her to move on, but anyway, I don't know how long it takes them to nest. We don't have a pond, but our neighbors have a pond. The river is just right down the hill from us. And then right along where all those big trees are over there, there is a ditch that runs through there. So there's quite a bit of water in our immediate area. Okay, let's plant. You can see we're getting ready for dahlias too, just about there. Yay! all planted. So this right here in this row is Feverfew, which I planted last year, and it's got the most beautiful dainty white flowers, great filler flower. You can see a little bit of red on the soil. Do you see that? Kind of like that red residue. That's actually chelated iron, because these came up so yellow that I just sprinkled a little chelated iron on the ground next to them and watered it in, and they're so beautiful now. It works so well. Anyway, at the end of this row, I planted the Celosia, which if I get down here, you can see the tiny little seedlings. I honestly do not use very much Celosia. I think I cut it maybe twice last year, and I had an enormous row. So this tiny little section is quite perfect. It's such a commanding flower. You know, it's very bright. Both of these are red. The Selway white that I started, all of it fried. So I don't have any of that. I don't know if it was the hard water overhead. That's another thing that I kind of learned about greenhouse growing. I was doing a lot of overhead watering instead of like precision watering with a watering can, which is what I did inside, or using those self-watering trays and watering from underneath. And I think that is the way to go, especially with our water, because a lot of my seedlings had like fried spots on the leaves and or hard water spots on the leaves, which is hard on little baby plants. But anyway, very commanding flower. Don't need very many of them because I don't find myself actually using them all that often. And then in this row, planted the Mignonette starting at the beginning, and then I just filled in little gaps where, you know, it didn't come back. And then I stopped right here. I actually have quite a few plants left. I'm going to see if my mom wants to grow them because I think she would love this flower. Anyway, I want to save the rest of the row for other things. And the last thing I want to do today, I want to go into the greenhouse and give you kind of a crop update on the veggie crops that we planted earlier. I need to clean out the raised bed that has the carrots and beets in it completely because we need to get it out of the greenhouse. We have so many plants in there right now. We are planting up the beds at the college again this year, and then of course all of our stuff. So it all kind of comes in at one time, and then we work on, you know, clearing it out as we get projects done. But we need this space, and I need to get that raised bed out. Okay guys, this greenhouse is chock full of stuff right now. Just absolutely full of stuff, but we've got some really exciting crops ready to harvest. We've got sugar snap peas. I'm gonna eat right now. It's really close to lunch. Yum. Look at these. Like, I should have put them on a taller trellis. Honestly, I could tie some strings on the top of that trellis and probably tie them off to the beam or the pole up there and have them just climb up. The corn is doing fantastic. Look at the ears forming up. Look at those. There's just pollen going everywhere, and I spent quite a bit of time out here, though there have been pollinators in here, so I'm hopeful that we have fully pollinated ears. We'll see when we harvest. But I did a lot of this as they were developing, so I'm hoping like they just keep on growing. But there are just ears everywhere in here, which is just so very exciting. I've never grown anything in a greenhouse like this, so every win, every success is just so exciting. And then right below it, we planted a row of jade bush beans. We've been picking on these so much. There's just beans everywhere. Look at this. Look at all those beans. And in all, I want to say there's probably like, I don't know. This is the raised bed from Gardener Supply, the Corten steel one, 2x4, roughly. I want to say there's maybe 10 bean plants in here. There's some that I missed. Look, clearly they're huge. So yeah, we're doing real well with these warm season crops in here. And then here are the two raised beds. So we've got this one, which is not quite 2 feet. It's at like 1.5 feet by 4. These are also from Gardener Supply. Super nice, like portable-ish. You know, you can move them around on a patio or whatever. And then it's nice to garden standing up, honestly. Whew, so nice. I seeded this crop of lettuce later, so this one's ready to go. I've been pulling on and cutting on lettuce over there, so it's looking a little sad. And then this is the bed I really need to get out of here. It's a little bit wider. This is a 2x4 bed right here. I've got beets and carrots. We had radishes here. So I just need to pull all of these because honestly, a lot of them are ready. Like that is a beautiful beet right there. Golden beet. The ones that aren't quite as developed, you know, you could eat the greens. I'm just going to feed them to the chickens because the chickens love them. So anyway, that's what we're going to do is just get all of these harvested, and I'm excited to show you what we end up with. guys. Look at how beautiful these carrots are. These are Nantes. Now, of course, some of them could have been left to size up bigger, but I'll root the little ones out and give them to the chickens. In fact, I already kind of started a pile of smaller carrots, and then the beets were nice too. Hang on, let me grab them. Okay, chicken pile. There's one beet that was kind of gross. Looks like it's like splitting and such. That's the only one that looked like that. I'll give that to the chickens. So same story with the beets. I could have let some of them size up bigger, but that's gorgeous right there. Most of them had pretty decent size. Like, we'll roast these up and really enjoy these. Yeah, like this size right here, not really worth prepping to eat, but it's nice to give the chickens fresh treats. Hey, chickens. Oh, look at that. That's our mostly clean harvest. I just hosed off the worst of the dirt. We'll clean them up a little bit better when we get ready to cook them, but oh, they're just so pretty. Look at this. Boy, it makes a difference when you are gardening in raised bed mix purely rather than a mixture with native soil, because ours tends to be so heavy that we get some pretty gnarly shaped carrots. So it's really nice to have these like perfectly formed carrots. I love it. And those are beautiful as well. Great color. Well, I am super happy with this harvest. I mean, the whole thing's a complete experiment. I've learned a ton. I know, like with growing seedlings for the cut flower garden and vegetables and things like that, that I need to be a little bit more careful with my watering, like I was inside. You know, I was so careful about precision watering and getting it right to the root ball, not using too much water because it was a lot more work, because I was using watering cans and things like that. And so you want to make the water stretch, but that made the flower seedlings happier than they were in the greenhouse, where I could just kind of indiscriminately water. I wasn't checking for water pooling in the trays because that never was an issue before, but it was this year for me. So I either need to check for water in the trays, make sure I pour it out, or I need to poke holes in those trays so that water can escape. So, you know, we learn every single year. And the hard water was another thing. You know, I need to make sure not to get it all over the leaves. You know, watering is just, I was hoping it would be easier out in the greenhouse than it is inside. And, you know, if you're going to have things in there for a short amount of time, like the annuals we get in trays that are already grown on, they're in there for so, you know, few days before we hopefully have them in the ground or in containers planted, that overhead water isn't going to hurt them because it's not a constant buildup. But when you're tending to seedlings for, you know, sometimes months, that's a lot of hard water buildup on their leaves. So that's something to consider. Also, these vegetables, now I know I can do it. I just wasn't sure what to expect, especially with the corn. That was my wild card. It still kind of is until we harvest. We have to see what those ears end up looking like. But now I know what temperature these things are happy at. You know, I just made sure it didn't go below 50 when it was real cold this winter. We didn't really kick the heat on until it was probably late February, maybe, when we started doing more things out here. So we didn't have to run it too awful long, and it only kicked on really at night. During the day, it warms up quite a lot in there. But I think this year, like maybe mid to late summer, I'm going to start tomatoes from seed again so that I can have plants ready to go, like fresh plants ready to go, and I'll just grow them in the greenhouse. So hopefully I'm harvesting tomatoes and things like that in November and December, and how awesome would that be? Anyway, we got lots of work done between yesterday afternoon and today as well, and that's always nice. We'll probably see some major growth here pretty quick because the temperatures are going to warm up and they're out of their little cell packs, which will make them happy, I think. So anyway, that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one.